has covered from coast to coast, but also across the pond.
Yeah, wow.
Powerful storm.
This thing. Winter storm Kieran has just blasted through. Now, the worst of the weather is through, but man, it has been significant here, slamming several spots across parts of Europe with a lot of very heavy rainfall. That's been the most recent development, is some flooding rain coming in parts of Tuscany in Italy.
Yeah. Plus the wind. That was a big story because, again, a powerful system here. Big time gusty winds that we had to deal with here. Some of those high winds hounded the western half of the continent. In fact, we had some of those wind reports here, but behind us, look at these. I mean, these are insane values. Over 100-mile-per-hour winds.
Part of the story of this was the low pressure was just so strong, setting records over here in parts of Western Europe here below, 953 or 950, kind of like a hurricane low pressure. But also the jet stream played such a big role, and there was something called a sting jet involved in this here, where you get a portion of the jet that just gets drawn down to the surface. And we saw it here in case in point with these winds.
That's how you get 100-mile-per-hour winds from a system like that. So, yeah, of course, that jet stream playing a big role in the weather conditions that we've had to deal with here over the coming days. Of course, the cold, now it's going to start to retreat a bit as that jet stream kind of flattens out a little bit as well. Certainly much more tranquil weather compared to what they have been dealing with there in Europe.
The jet stream is always everything, right? I mean, it controls so much of what we deal with the weather. Now, we're going to write a comeback story in today's Big Deal. One, we finished. We're in a break. But now we got another two set and one set to come in later on today. And this is what's to come here as we look through Tuesday. Another 3 or 4 inches of rain is possible. You know, most spots from Hillsborough over to Portland, probably about 2 inches. What we saw with the last one was anywhere from 3/4 to 1 inch or 2 of rainfall. But you go up in some elevation and it is still going to be warm, that it's mainly rain. And that's where we end up with 3, 5, maybe even 6 inches of rainfall. Very widespread. You can see it's all of Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, especially in the coast here to the west of the Cascades, is where we'll see the biggest totals. But moisture spreading over the mountains and over into the interior, where we'll get some much needed rainfall into Washington, Oregon, here and over into Idaho. And even it's pointed right here at the coastline. It'll spread down from Washington to Oregon as we get through the later hours today. Already you can see the clouds encroaching on the area, although at the moment we're in a break. So enjoy these dry times. Go out, ride your bike, go take the dog for a walk, because by tonight we've got rain coming in that will be heavy at times. So this one comes in, and then there's another storm system poised to come in on Sunday. So yes, we've got 2 more atmospheric rivers to go. This next one that we're going to get tonight is the bigger of the next 2. Multiple systems are just going to add up here, and so certainly concerns about some flooding rain with the moisture coming in. These next 2 atmospheric rivers that we're looking at, a category 3 on a scale that goes from 1 to 5 here. So category 3, mid-range, right, considered a moderate atmospheric river, but still can bring some problems if it's too much rain at once. We see that rain come in tonight into tomorrow, heavy rain at times, windy conditions as well. Brief break before the next one. You'll see that here early on Sunday. Then Sunday night, more rain comes in, sticks around into Monday, a wet one all the way down into Northern California.
Into the northeast.
First snow of the season for Buffalo. We had a Halloween, but I think this next one's not really going to bring much in the way of snow, as you've been showing in the Midwest. Well, I'll take you into what else we'll see, though, here, because we'll see a chilly rain for some of you, like in Buffalo, New York. That comes in over the next end of the weekend, early part of next week. So showers make our way in on Monday. Temps in the 50s, warming up a little bit at first, and then we're cooling back down into the low 50s, and actually only in the 40s for highs as you get into Wednesday. All right, so into the northeast we go. And tracking, as Alex showed us, those systems moving from the Midwest to the Northeast with the zonal flow, or generally west to east flow that we're going to have in our jet stream. Not a lot of ups and downs here. Things zip along. Things move along pretty quickly. So you don't get stuck in any one kind of weather for that long. Get some breaks out there. Temperatures on Sunday, a lot of 50s. Pittsburgh, you'll be in the mid-50s. Most of Pennsylvania, a lot of Jersey. New York City might make it up to about 61. We'll see on Sunday's forecast 67 into D.C., and we should be dry. But as we watch the next couple of days beyond that, a couple of chances of rain showers coming on in. Snow to the north, but pretty far north. This is now Tuesday morning, and we do have some snow on the ground right now in northern Maine after the early the snow that we just had a few days ago, midweek snow. We're going to be seeing this come in as rain into your Tuesday. Wednesday's forecast, now we see another system coming in. Showers, rain showers across Ohio, where you have a little snow left there east of Cleveland, thanks to that snow you just got. We're going to see the Wednesday forecast here a little cooler. So now we bring some snow chances in to northern parts of the upstate of New York, the Adirondacks, maybe a little snow there. Not expecting much in the way of accumulation, but just don't be surprised if you see some of those flakes mixing in with the rain. And then northern Maine, better chance of getting into some snow. That's where we have 1 to 3 inches in the forecast. This is the season to see all these different precip types. Always tough right here in terms of your planning. Boston just planned for rain, and we'll get it Tuesday and Thursday. So you see what I mean about an every other day kind of thing here with the zonal flow and things moving along. It is going to give us some breaks from the weather, and we'll have some sunshine both on Tuesday and on Wednesday. And the weekend is looking good, Alex. That's, I think,
that's the
key.
takeaway in the game.
That is
absolutely.
Yeah, for once.
For once, it has been a tough stretch of weekends across a good chunk of the Northeast. All right, well, puddles would be a welcome sign. I like that.
The mornings will probably give that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, keep it coming. Go to X, formerly known as Twitter, and as well as Threads. Send us your comments. We'll share a few more of them as we head on through the show.
Let's take you out to St. Paul. South has been a big talking point. The fact that you haven't had any rain here is becoming quite noticeable in your yards. This is the time of year where maybe you need less water on your yards and your plants, but we filled in over Texas, Louisiana, Tennessee, really recently coming in with some severe drought here. Can call it a flash drought situation. And then to places like Shreveport, where we have some dryness out there, but down across central and southern Louisiana, it is worse. New Orleans, looking at that exceptional drought, we need the rainfall. This has been a top 10 driest of that exceptional drought. We need the rainfall. This has been a top 10 driest, if not even top 5 driest for many of you season to date, meaning we're talking about September and October. September, October, November, that's the fall season when it comes to record keeping for meteorology. And it's number 1 in terms of driest in Knoxville, number 3 in Atlanta, Jackson, Mississippi, number 3, Tupelo, number 2. So you get a sense of what we've been dealing with. Florida, too. We had a very dry fall, and now we're getting into our dry season. So we'll keep an eye on, of course, the drought monitor there. But for now, the concern is, are we going to get some rain? I mean, Texas just last week did get significant rain, too much. It caused flooding in spots. But now, as we look ahead to the next 7 days, there's a little rain in Texas, maybe southeastern Texas, including around Houston and Corpus Christi. In that time of year, which is not traditionally our wettest time of year, the wettest months of the year in the southeast is in the spring and in the winter. And so, of course, fall, which is the brown, is really not the wettest time of year for almost anyone here. Maybe South Texas, that's about it. But as we get through the next coming month, hopefully we do see a pattern change. We expect it. One of the factors, of course, is El Nino coming month. Hopefully we do see a pattern change. We expect it. One of the factors, of course, is El Nino. And as we get into the winter months, maybe we'll see more of an influence on El Nino in our forecast. The trend is to be above average looking ahead to the middle of November here when it comes to the chances for rain. Alex, what about temperatures?
Well,
much in the way of snow coming on in. A lot of you will be warming up here in the south. More sunshine.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a little taste. It got cold. There's no question about it.
More sunshine.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a little taste. It got cold. There's no question about it. It got cold. But now that's changing here for us. So the warmer times are ahead, back to a little bit more kind of normal times for some of us, if not even above average.
Above average here. Going to make for a great weekend.
Oh, man.
Good parade weather.
Yes, great football weather.
Good football weather, yeah.
Ooh, cannot
Chili
wait.
cook-offs, all the things are happening.
All of it,
this
absolutely.
is the time. Yep.
All right, so let's talk about this because it is going to be nice out there for those who are
here, big time. So more rain coming back today after a little bit of break. And believe it or not, we are above average as well in the Pacific Northwest here. So today, enjoy those dry times, relatively warmer times, because by later today, the rain is coming back in. Seattle is a good example of that. We're going to be in the upper 50s, maybe even hit 60 today and tomorrow. So a little above average. It's just that the rain is here. So it comes in tonight, another atmospheric river. Tomorrow, really rainy and windy. Sunday, rain showers continue. There might be a brief break during the day, but that next atmospheric river is on its way in and keeps us wet through Monday. And then some showers continue into Tuesday. Rainfall could be heavy. 5 to 8 inches is possible in spots. Now, yesterday we saw a pretty widespread area of getting at least 3/4 to an inch of rain with pockets of heavier. And I think with this next one coming in, we'll see the same or 4, if not more. So it's a trio of atmospheric rivers. This is number 2. We're watching this now start to move at least some moisture into the area. Clouds are going to be on the increase. You notice all those isobars that were out there, those white lines? That's going to mean windy conditions. It's a strong low pressure. High wind warnings are up along the coast. Beware of the waves as well. Today is not a bad start to the day. We're partly cloudy right now. Temps are again on the relatively mild side, considering what it could be this time of year. But by later on, here comes the rain, and then another storm comes in on Sunday, and then even into early next week, we keep the showers around with just a very unsettled pattern over the Gulf of Alaska, and that keeps sending disturbances on in. So heavy rain is going to be one concern. Another is perhaps maybe a couple of rumbles of thunder. That's possible, especially getting through the day tomorrow. We've got an atmospheric river set up. Again, 2 more coming our way. It's a moderate one, a category 3 on the atmospheric river scale. Makers, the Paddis brothers from More Than Just Parks. Guys, good to have you always on the show. We love kicking off every month with your suggestions. So our first stop is Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. Will, explain how Roosevelt's influence on sort of making a big factor here and into this park.
Yeah, well, when it starts to talk about
legacy, right? Now, you know, one of the ways people are conserving the area is by building special crossings so animals can actually get by safely. Jim, what are some other interesting sites that we can see here?
Yeah,
because we can have all kinds of weather. Some rain, possibly snow could arrive at the gates here this weekend. The wind is always a big factor in this part of the Badlands. So, Will, what makes this spot worth the trip in the fall?
I mean,
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we avoided going to our next stop in late winter as snow took over parts of Utah. But, you know, some sun joins us in Zion National Park. Jim, give us a sense of how the weather really
right around now and later into the month.
Yeah, in Zion, known for the arches, some of the largest freestanding ones in the world. Will, how do we manage getting around to see all of this park's natural wonders?
Yeah.
These tips are so great.
Yes. Avoiding the crowds is always very, very key.
We're getting inside scoop.
We shouldn't be giving away the secrets, right? Yeah. Thanks to Jim and Will Paddis there from More Than Just Parks for joining us and guiding us on our year-long adventure. Hard to believe that it's, well, some college action first. Fun times there in Tuscaloosa, LSU in Alabama. This should be a fun game here. And the weather is going to be fun as well. I mean, look at that. 70s as we work our way through the afternoon for the tailgates. And then as we work through the game, cools down a bit. Maybe a light jacket, sweater.
This is going to be a crazy day. Game day is here. I mean, the party begins early. The weather's going to be great. It's like really can't. Nothing stopping you.
And the game matters, right? Because both these teams are vying for SEC championship prospects. How about my dogs? Missouri in town there in Athens for a 3:30 kickoff. This is gorgeous. You know, I'm almost thinking about maybe trying to make that trip. I should have done it because it's going to be absolutely fantastic there in Athens, Georgia.
Yeah, you should leave after work today because it's going to be packed. A lot of folks head into that one. We've got the Longhorns hosting the Wildcats here. Another big game. They're all big this weekend.
Yeah, this is... They kind of deem it and term it Separation Saturday. It's going to separate the, the men from the boys. So we'll see how it all plays out.
I didn't know that.
But it should be a fun one here in Austin. A few clouds early on, but those clouds will be fading away by the afternoon. Beautiful temps in the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, so much good weather. This is fantastic for college football on Saturday. Let's go to Sunday's games and check things out here. The Eagles are hosting the Cowboys. Again, another big game. We're going to see temps in the 60s. Nice.
Yeah. Two teams that just absolutely love each other there, and they're going to love this forecast for the afternoon. Good times there. All right, talk about the teams here, Dallas and Philly. Checking those quarterbacks when the temperatures are in the sort of mid 50s to mid 60s. Comparing quarterbacks, I mean, very similar when it comes to QBR, touchdowns per game, interceptions. The only separation, maybe yards per game.
But barely.
So I don't know if there's one advantage at all.
Weather's not going to play a role.
Yeah.
I mean, these are pretty nice temperatures.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like that?
Exactly.
All right. Well, let's go back to each their own, really.
Exactly. You know, you don't want too much of the same thing. If you can get some variation in there, you don't want it to be too dry because then you get the drought situation. You don't want it to be too cold too much because then it's too cold. You don't want it hot because it shouldn't be hot at this time. So just some variation in there is key.
It's like that old commercial we had on the Weather Channel. How can you appreciate the sun if you don't have the rain? You know?
Exactly.
Yep.
So true. All right. Well, all you have to do is head to X Threads as well. You can send us your comments and we will share more of what you have to say as we head on through the show.
Well, let's get you into the out. Pitch them to you.
That's it.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with you through the mid-morning hours to get you ready for all the big events in your neighborhood.
That's right. The Weather Channel has you covered here from coast to coast, but also across the pond, where we've been watching and tracking a really powerful storm that slammed several spots there in Europe, and it brought with it heavy rain and some intense winds as well.
We've seen flooding coming even out of Italy. You know, the core of the storm came in, up across the English Channel, North France, England, of course. Ireland saw some nasty weather from it, but the rainfall was really widespread, and we saw again some of that flooding all the way down into Tuscany.
Yeah, so yeah, it was not a fun time at all. How about some of the wind reports that were coming in here, really driving into extreme levels? We got a few of them out here behind us here. Some of these big wind reports, northwest parts of France. Triple digits, 100+ mile-an-hour winds.
And this is a storm that will certainly be analyzed, in the days and weeks and probably years to come here. It was a significant one, potent one, with record low pressure. It was all part of and sort of driven by a jet stream that started in the U.S. and then intensified and moved across the northern Atlantic and helped intensify that storm. Meanwhile, we go back across the lower 48 and things are looking pretty tranquil by comparison.
Yeah, by far. And in fact, going to continue to stay pretty tranquil outside of a few trouble spots we'll be tracking here over the coming days. But overall, yeah, it's a pretty quiet pattern.
Yeah. Now we're writing a comeback story in today's rivers. Number 1 just came in. Now we're in a brief break before the next one comes in later today. 2 more to go here. And tonight the rain comes in heavy at times, really through the day tomorrow. The wind actually is going to be a factor. You'll see that and feel that ramping up today. And then Sunday, another atmospheric river into Monday. More showers do linger into Tuesday. It's a pretty wet pattern here across the Northwest. November is one of our wettest months of the year in terms of days of rain, but still tough to take. Tough to take here when you're in this stretch with seemingly not much break, which is why you should enjoy what's going on right now with the system. So the one that comes in later tonight and then again on Sunday, it's not necessarily all at once, but this next one, I mean, this is a doozy out there. You can see the center of the low pressure spinning around. A lot of isobars means a lot of change of pressure, so that's going to mean wind. And wind warnings, high wind warnings are up along the coast of Washington and Oregon. Right now, we've got some pretty quiet conditions, though. Seattle, Portland, Medford, Eugene, all in Oregon. Right now, we've got some pretty quiet conditions, though. Seattle, Portland, Medford, Eugene, all looking at no rain at the moment. And so enjoy that. And the showers and the clouds are hanging pretty far offshore right now. That'll change, though, by tonight and through the weekend as we get rain coming in, potentially heavy at times. Snow levels will stay very high. It's overall a pretty warm system with our temperatures above average, but so is the amount of rainfall that we're going to get. This is a moderate atmospheric river. The next 2 coming in a moderate, a category 3 on the scale. Scale goes from 1 to 5, 5 being the worst. And so generally when you're a cat 3, it's usually beneficial. Could be problematic, mainly if we get too much rain and that leads to flooding. So that's what we'll have to watch out for. Tomorrow will be that time frame with that this next atmospheric river coming in with the heavier rain. Showers then linger into the evening, a little break on Sunday before the next one comes in. That continues into Monday, and then some showers continue into your Tuesday as well. Pretty unsettled pattern out here, and again, adding up when it comes to that rainfall. Now, Alex, these systems or pieces of them will track across the northern tier.
They shall, and that's going to bring with them by. Not enough to be a major deal, but just kind of like, get out of here quickly.
Right. No, I mean, because there's a lot of leaves to be raked, things to do this time of year that you want to do before you start getting into the holiday rush. So Northeast, same thing. We're going to have an on again, off again kind of rain, which gives us time to get that stuff done outside that we need to do. And temperature wise here this weekend, I mean, no complaints. It's going to be relatively mild and it's going to be dry. But then we get into next week and we see some rain coming in starting overnight Monday into early Tuesday in Boston, then drying out for the afternoon. Then Wednesday's a nice break and then back in on Thursday. So again, not a completely rainy week for us. We do have, looking at your Saturday, mainly dry. A little rain possible up across northern New York State. But overall, I would say most of you will see dry conditions out there. Temperatures are going to be hitting the mid-50s, low 60s. New York City, we should hit our low 60s. New York City, D.C., we should hit the upper 60s both on Saturday and on Sunday. And again, a dry forecast. Looking good for the New York City Marathon, which is on Sunday morning. Oh, boy. So that's always key, right? You don't want it to be too warm. You certainly don't want it to be rainy. I think that's a really good-looking forecast. But as we look at this next forecast ahead into next week, we do have some rain chances coming in. weekend, so after the weekend. Now, here we go into Tuesday. The rain chances moving through the area, they'll be scattered, not an all-day rain by any stretch. Tuesday evening, you could see just a few showers left behind. Next system starts to make its way in on Wednesday. You'll see that and feel that with some rain showers in Indiana and across the state of Ohio. Columbus and Pittsburgh, both rain showers moving in throughout the day. And throughout Pennsylvania into the overnight, we'll see some rain pushing in. This one will have a little more cold air to work with, and maybe we see some snow. And it's literally that. You'll see a few snowflakes. I don't think you'll get a lot of snow in New York State there, especially up in the Adirondacks. Northern Maine, this is where we actually still have some snow on the ground, and we have about 1 to 3 inches coming in. 'Tis the season. I mean, most storms now are going to threaten some snow up here across parts of northern Maine. But otherwise, Buffalo, no snow in our forecast. We've got rain Monday and Tuesday. We did get our first snow. It happened on Halloween, Alex. Just kind of a fun way to remember it.
Yes, a white Halloween for some of us, so we got a chance to enjoy that. But now
it's gone.
A good weekend, because that hasn't been the case for a lot of the Northeast here for a lot of weeks.
Since summer.
Jeez.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Wow. Well, puddles would be a welcome
to, cool down.
Exactly. There's something about I shouldn't be sweating as there's something about I should feel a nip in the air.
My youngest daughter explained that Christmas and Thanksgiving are now completely combined. And so November starts the season. And so it should cool down.
It has gotten to that point. Yeah, exactly. We just kind of merge it all together.
It's all merged together.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the comments. Keep them coming. All you have to do is head to X as well as Threads. Share them with us, and we will share a few of your comments as we head on through the rest of the show.
It's been dry in the southeast. We talked a little about that yesterday, actually, here, how crunchy everyone's yards are getting, and not because of the leaves coming down or because it's been frosty, but because we haven't seen rain. You go back to the drought monitor at the beginning of summer and look at how the drought just exploded in Texas and Louisiana, especially Mississippi, and a Tennessee drought. And just the last few weeks, it's almost been like a flash drought situation. Louisiana really is at the heart of all of it. Shreveport showing at least some drought levels, but Alexandria, we are at the exceptional level. Same thing in New Orleans and Baton Rouge and Lake Charles. Exceptional drought down here. Desperately need some rainfall. The Mississippi River levels have been low. We've been talking about those impacts as well. And when you look at it, it's not just in the drought monitor. It's not just in our imaginations that it feels like it hasn't rained. It hasn't here. Even this is one of the drier times of year. So far, season to date, for September and October, we are running a top 5 driest on record for many spots, if not top 10 at least, like in Texas around Waco, number 8. Knoxville, though, number 1, our driest season to date so far. And where we are right now with that latest drought monitor, again, showing across Tennessee from Nashville over to Knoxville and Chattanooga, we are dry. We're dry in the Florida Panhandle. We're dry in Mississippi, including around Jackson. And in the rainfall forecast, there's not much as we look to the next 7 days. There's some chances coming into parts of South Texas. There's some chances coming up perhaps into Tennessee, but not expecting a lot of rainfall with this next pattern that we're about to get into. And this time of year, you probably don't expect a lot of rain. Our wettest season of the year is not fall. For most spots, actually, that would be the brown color, which only shows up in Texas or maybe a little bit in Colorado. But it's more winter and spring in parts of the South. And so maybe that's hopeful, right, that we can get into a rainy pattern getting into December and January. Just getting you into the rest of, or at least the middle of November, there are signs that it could be a little wetter than average across the Southeast. And then going beyond that into the winter months, December, January, February, likely above average. Classic El Nino forecast here. So, of course, time will tell how this all plays out, Alex.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're certainly seeing that here this latter part of the weekend. Heading into the weekend, the temperatures really climbing. I mean, it's going to be beautiful weather for a lot of folks.
I asked the question the other day, when do you forget how cold it was? It's like already looking at the forecast, I'm like, oh, yeah, 30 degrees, no big deal. It's gone.
It takes no time. Yeah, absolutely no time at all. All right, well, let's talk about how warm it is expected to get out there. We'll focus in on some of these areas in the eastern half of the country where the numbers are on the rise. And we'll get
a dry year overall. So we're getting into a rainy season. It's not unexpected to be getting into this rain, and I think it is welcome. At this point, we're ready to hopefully fill up some of those rain gauges. About 3 to 5 inches still yet to come on top of what we've already had. And for most spots yesterday, it was like 3/4 of an inch to an inch. I looked at some of the reporting sites around the Portland area. Seattle, you ended up picking up 0.87, which interestingly was your wettest day of the year so far. Yes, Seattle. It's not been a wet year. I was reading the Seattle weather blog here, and I saw that stat, and I double-checked it. I went through the whole year. Now we've got another chance to actually overdo that because we have more rain coming in with our second atmospheric river. It's a trio. The one yesterday wrapped up. We're in a break right now, and you can see dry conditions out there at the moment. But then this next one comes in starting overnight tonight, rain tomorrow, adding up again heavy rain from not just that system, but another one then on Sunday. So multiple weather systems ranking a Category 3 on the atmospheric river scale, so a moderate atmospheric river, expecting some heavy rain out of that. Also some pretty strong winds, and you'll see that and feel that today here, especially on the coast. Some high wind warnings are up. The rainfall throughout the day tomorrow could be heavy at times. It's possible we get a few thunderstorms. Don't be surprised by that. 'Tis the season when you can get some of those cold air funnels out here too. Don't be surprised by that with a series of storms we've got coming into the Pacific Northwest. Filmmakers, the Pattis brothers from More Than Just Parks. Guys, good to have you always on the show. We love kicking off every month with your suggestions. So our first stop is Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. Will, explain how Roosevelt's influence on sort of making a big factor here and into this park.
Yeah, well, when it starts to talk about
legacy, right? Now, one of the ways people are conserving the area is by building special crossings so animals can actually get by safely. Jim, what are some other interesting sites that we can see here?
Yeah. Because we can have all kinds of weather. Some rain, possibly snow could arrive at the gates here this weekend. The wind is always a big factor in this part of the Badlands. So, Will, what makes this spot worth the trip in the fall?
I mean,
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we avoided going to our next stop in late winter as snow took over parts of Utah. But, some sun joins us in Zion National Park. Jim, give us a sense of how the weather really
right around now and later into the month.
Yeah, in Zion, known for the arches, some of the largest freestanding ones in the world. Will, how do we manage getting around to see all of this park's natural wonders?
Yeah.
These tips are so great.
Yes. Avoiding the crowds is always very, very key.
We're getting inside scoop.
We shouldn't be giving away the secrets, right? Yeah. Thanks to Jim and Will Pattis there from More Than Just Parks for joining us and guiding us on our year-long adventure. Hard to believe that it's place more football. We'll start off looking at some college action here in Tuscaloosa. Big game here. This is going to be a big player in who comes out of the SEC West, Alabama, LSU. Evening game, so the fans are going to be frothy there in Tuscaloosa.
That's to put it lightly. Game day's in town, so this is going to start early, a huge party. Weather-wise, in the 70s through the day, lots of sunshine, and then we cool down into the upper 50s.
Yeah, really a nice forecast there. How about in Athens, Missouri coming into town to take on my dogs, and a beautiful forecast there in Sanford Stadium. Really enjoy the tailgates, homecoming, so enjoy that. Enjoy the game. Hopefully it turns out well for my dogs. But you can't complain about this forecast.
You're so humble always, Alex. Like, there's a chance we might not win.
There's always a chance. That's why they play the game, right? How about in Austin? They'll be playing there in Texas, there, Kansas State going at it. And you mentioned this earlier. A lot of big games between ranked teams.
There are a lot of big games. What's going on this weekend?
Sometimes it just happens, right? Everything aligns nicely for big games, and we got it. And we get the weather cooperating, too.
Yes. I mean, really, across the board, the weather is looking really good. And Sunday, too. I mean, look at this weather for the Eagles-Cowboys games. It's going to be in the 60s. Tailgaters enjoy, game time enjoy as well.
Yeah, that should be a fun one there for those two teams. And when you start comparing the quarterbacks when the conditions are like they will be, they're very similar in these types of conditions, between 55 and 65 degrees. QBR, touchdowns per game, interceptions per game, pretty much the same. The exception, maybe yards per game favors Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, but only by a little bit. Yeah. So, I'm not sure if the weather's going to be playing much of a role in this game.
It's good weather. Fans are going to like it, too. All right, let's go back to our question of the day. Traffic for work traffic. So maybe I'd take one rainy weekend day, get some inside things done.
How about rain overnight?
Oh, yeah, that would be fine. That works.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, well, we know how things are going to be shaping up there in the UP in the coming weeks and months ahead. It's going to get colder, and it's going to get exactly.
Tis the season for all of that. All right, well, you can go to X and Threads to send us your comments and also share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV.
How about we get you?
Well, it is. It's so classic, though. But, I mean, are pumpkins flammable?
I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. I always heard that putting the candles is just not a safe thing. But there are fake candles that you can do.
I know, you can put in there. Yeah. And, you know, it's actually easier to do that because you don't have to, like, go keep relighting them. The wind comes through, blows them out. They last longer. I mean, lots of reasons. Anyway, they're done with that. So worry about that next year.
Weather Channel has you covered here from coast to coast, but also across the pond where we've been watching just an incredibly powerful storm system, one that's going to be really in the history books here when it's all said and done.
I mean, you see this flooding just completely overtaking communities here. We've seen the flooding in Tuscany, in Italy. Unfortunately, it has turned deadly. We've had the strong, fierce winds, the very heavy rainfall, the flooding rainfall, and thankfully things are going to start to get better now. The system is starting to, I won't say weaken, but it's flooding rainfall, and thankfully things are going to start to get better now. The system is starting to, I won't say weaken, but it's calming down.
Right, exactly. We're on the other side of the sort of the most powerful part of it. But when it came through, it was coming through like gangbusters. I mean, check out some of the wind reports, some of the high wind reports coming in here out of northwest parts of France. I mean, look at some of these 100 plus 120 mile per hour winds reported from this storm. That is intense.
Storm Kieran, and it had its sort of origins from the jet stream that was over the U.S. that really strengthened thanks to the big temperature contrast we had. You know, the record cold, the record highs right before that, and that helped intensify that storm over the northern Atlantic before it went.
Yeah, certainly compared to what has been going on there in Europe, no doubt about it. Certainly a quieter time here. We'll be watching systems across the northern tier, but beyond that, kind of a settled pattern.
Yeah, writing a comeback story in today's big deal. One short. And in the forecast, we have inches of rain coming our way. You can see that here, maybe 3 to 5 inches. Now, believe it or not, it has not been that wet of a year here across the Pacific Northwest, and we haven't had a day in Seattle yet with an inch of rain. Could we do that with this event? Yes, it is possible because, you know, we've got some pockets of at least 3 to 5 inches here, especially along the coast, but even leading in the upslope areas of the Cascades, snow levels are going to be pretty high. So in general, it's a lot of rain that's going to be falling. Next system is ready and poised to come in. You can see all the moisture with it on our water vapor. That's the greens that you're seeing right here. Our low pressure in the center out here with all these isobars, lines of constant pressure. When you see a lot of them, it means it's going to be windy. And we do have high wind warnings up along the coast today, Washington, Oregon. Expect conditions to continue to get windier as we get through the day. At the moment, no rain, not even a whole lot of clouds, or some, of course, but and we have a little fog and low cloudiness, but we're going to have a nice break until the rain, to go grocery shopping on a day when it's not raining, because we've got a lot of rain in the forecast, and with multiple systems coming in, it is going to be adding up. It is an atmospheric river event, so we just had one. It is a Category 3 type of atmospheric river event on a scale of 1 to 5, a 3 right in the middle, so a moderate one, should be mainly beneficial. And because we're dry, you know, that could mean some good rainfall coming on in. Most special, and because we're dry, you know, that could mean some good rainfall coming on in. Most spots have had about 75 to 80% of the rain that we should have for the year. So, you know, we have a little time to make that up here with several systems coming in. Look at Monday, you can still coming through, and we're watching for that finally to wrap up by Tuesday. Maybe that's our next break after that into Wednesday. High wind warnings, I mentioned those, and actually the interior too, we'll see some winds ramping up as we get into the next 24 hours.
Coming on through, and it's going to mosey its way into the northeast too.
Yeah, gotta love zonal flow, and the jet stream keeps it moving, you know.
That is true.
You don't
doesn't
like
get stuck.
Yeah, if you don't like it, you'll get stuck. Same thing in the northeast, because the same systems that Alex was talking about make their way into the northeast. They'll not get to us for the weekend, so we go past that. You've got a good-looking weekend, but then we get to next week, and we have a couple of rain chances. Tuesday, we see that in Boston. Temps are in the 60s, though, so on the warmer side, relatively speaking. But then Thursday, now we're into the chilly rain. Temps are going to be in the 40s, but it doesn't last for days, right? So with this pattern, things will be moving along and progressing like Alex was talking about. Your Saturday looking good, hitting 60. I mean, there'll be some clouds out there. It's not a perfect day, but it's pretty good. And no rain, both on Saturday and Sunday. That is key, especially since we have the New York City Marathon on Sunday. I think this is a really good-looking forecast. Temps will be starting on a cooler note, so you have all the layers, of course, that folks leave there at the start. But we're warming up to 61. I think not too warm, especially for the early finishers. You know, it's probably perfect. for running a marathon. Now, as we look at the forecast for rain, that comes in starting Tuesday through the Ohio Valley. We see that back in Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, rain showers coming in throughout the day on Tuesday, spreading east. We see that throughout the afternoon hours here in parts of the Northeast, but moves through pretty quickly. So you'll have some spotty showers through the day. Then the next chance comes in on Wednesday. You see that early in the day, Indiana, Ohio, yet again, West Virginia, western Pennsylvania gets into some rainfall in the morning hours, and then moving throughout the day. By evening, we see the rain coming in heavier times and a little more cold air in place for that second one. That'll give us a little snow up there into northern Maine, but that's really the only spot that sees any accumulation of snowfall, 1 to 3 inches in the forecast. We do have snow left on the ground from our first snow of the season that we got this week, so there's still some out there. We'll add to that, although before that new snow gets in, there'll be some rain, so it'll be sloppy. Buffalo, not snow this week. It's rainfall and rain coming in on Monday, late in the day. There's some chances maybe Tuesday and Wednesday, but not great. So overall, just cloudy. We're in that cloudy season. Here we go.
Yep, and we'll see the sunshine next April, May.
I know that's how it feels.
Yeah, but overall, at least we're seeing the temperatures not too crazy cold out there. We're warming up a bit out there as well. But puddles, that would certainly be a welcome sight to some cities. The drought.
I don't think they want Florida weather in the Midwest.
I don't think so, exactly.
But you don't want 6 months of clouds. I get it. And I was just talking about it, right? Starting our cloudy season.
Chop that in half, 3 months of cold and gray, it'd be all right.
Karen says, I hope it doesn't have as big a link as maybe some other parts of the country.
Yeah, like you think, okay, the southern tier, a little wet northeast.
Yeah, so I think anything could go.
Anything goes.
And look, you get one big storm, and that defines your winter.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be watching that. Of course, it seems like last year we avoided that with the big snowstorms. Did we make up for some lost time this year?
It does always make me nervous getting into this time of year because now we're getting to that season where
big blockbuster snowstorm in November.
Yeah,
it could happen.
I mean, not quick like rapid intensification,
right.
But
just, it's in the season.
It's in the season. Yes, it's in within the realm of possibility. Well, keep those. The lack of rain has been a big talker in the South. Your yards are all crunchy, and not just because of the falling leaves or the frost. It's because we need rainfall. Things have been drying out. Go back to the beginning of the summer, and we were in pretty good shape. We did have some drought across West Texas, a little bit in Oklahoma, but overall, it was the summer and it was the fall where we saw the drought really, really explode across the South. Recently, we did get a little help with a little rain in Texas, but it didn't fall in Louisiana or Mississippi, and this was almost like a flash drought that has really established quickly in Tennessee. Shreveport, we have some areas that are dry, but it's much worse in the middle and southern part of the state of Louisiana, where we have exceptional drought covering the whole area. Wildfire danger has been a problem. We just saw that in Florida and Bay County near Panama City just 2 days ago. And, when you look at where we are, it's not your imagination. We have not had a lot of rain. We're ranking a top 10 driest or even top 5 driest rainfall for this fall so far. That's the months of September and October. Knoxville, #1 on the list. Around Tampa, #1 on the list. Here, other spots like in Biloxi, #2 driest on record. And so no surprise that we are in this drought situation. And you're probably wondering, when are we going to get rainfall? Well, in the next 7 days, there's not much. Maybe a spotty chance of showers in Middle Tennessee. Probably not looking at a whole lot, just with the pattern that we have in place. And in South Texas, it's possible we get into some rainfall, maybe even around the Houston area. But again, not looking for a lot of rain, not a drought-busting rain. You don't expect that this time of year. The areas of the country that have fall as the driest month of the dry season of the year are in brown. South Texas and maybe parts of Colorado or Utah. But overall, you don't expect to get a lot of rainfall now. It's usually in the winter or the spring across parts of the South. So is there hope, you're asking, as we get into these seasons? Because we didn't see it in the summertime here in the Southeast. Well, over the course of the middle of November, some signs of maybe above average precip across parts of the South, and even more so as we look ahead to the winter months of December and January and February. And this is where you can see a pretty pronounced El Nino thumbprint on the forecast, where we've got that above average, very likely above average chance of rainfall across the South and East here. Not to say this is exactly how it will play out, but there's definitely, I think, an increased chance given the fact that we're heading into an El Nino, and probably a strong one. Alex.
All right. Well, how about we get you
technically, but because we talk about mud season in March and April. Mm-hmm. But this has got to be a pretty muddy time of year when you get into this mix of snow and rain.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All the leaves are coming down.
Yeah, just a mess.
It's a mess. I do think fall is a pretty messy time of year.
If you really dig into the details, it can be messy.
It looks so beautiful, the colors, the trees, everything else, but then they're all getting tracked in the house, in your car. How often do you vacuum your car?
Okay. Not now, not a lot now, because it's pointless, almost like pollen season. It's like you wash your car and pollen's all over the place.
I know.
The leaves end up everywhere now.
You walk across the parking lot, leaves in your car. Once a week, I'm vacuuming. I'm keeping up with it.
You are?
Yes.
Well, look at you. Kudos to you. All right, well, let's talk about what else is happening out there, because one of the things in the hallmarks when it comes to this time of the year is, you get the big cool downs, but then things warm up pretty quickly.
I know.
And so that's what we've got right now.
I've kind of already forgotten that the rain has been pretty torrential at times here over the Pacific Northwest. We had our wettest day of the year in Seattle yesterday. Interestingly, it was only 0.87. We still haven't had a day with an inch or more of rainfall all year long. It's been a pretty dry year, which is why this is welcome rainfall. Although, we've got about 3 to 5 inches possible adding up over days, not necessarily in one falling. But rainfall heavy at times because of a trio of atmospheric rivers. We're on the second one right now, about to come in later today. You see it hanging out off the coast, all that moisture in green there on the water vapor. The low pressure itself far out right now with a lot of isobars. It's a strong low, which means we're going to have a lot of wind here, especially coastal areas of Oregon. High wind warnings are up. At the moment, we're not getting rainfall. So you have a break in Seattle. You might even see a little bit of sunshine. Wouldn't that be nice? Not so lucky there in Portland. We're pretty sucked in the fog right now, but it's not raining. That comes back later tonight. The rain could come in heavy at times. This is an atmospheric river event. It's a category 3 on a scale that goes from 1 to 5. And along with the rainfall, those winds will be strong. High wind warnings along the coastline and in the interior too. We'll see winds starting to ramp up. Makers, the Paddis brothers from More Than Just Parks. Guys, good to have you always on the show. We love kicking off every month with your suggestions. So our first stop is Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. Will, explain how Roosevelt's influence on sort of making a big factor here and into this park.
Yeah, well, when it starts to talk about
legacy, right? Now, one of the ways people are conserving the area is by building special crossings so animals can actually get by safely. Jim, what are some other interesting sites that we can see here?
Yeah.
No, because we can have all kinds of weather. Some rain, possibly snow could arrive at the gates here this weekend. The wind is always a big factor in this part of the Badlands. So, Will, what makes this spot worth the trip in the fall?
I mean,
cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we avoided going to our next stop in late winter as snow took over parts of Utah. But, some sun joins us in Zion National Park. Jim, give us a sense of how the weather really plays more football. We'll start off looking at some college action here in Tuscaloosa. Big game here. This is going to be a big player in who comes out of the SEC West, Alabama, LSU. Evening game, so the fans are going to be frothy there in Tuscaloosa.
That's to put it lightly. Game day's in town, so this is going to start early, a huge party. Weather-wise, in the 70s through the day, lots of sunshine, and then we cool down into the upper 50s.
Yeah, really a nice forecast there. How about in Athens? Missouri coming into town to take on my Dogs, and a beautiful forecast there in Sanford Stadium. Really enjoy the tailgates, homecoming, so enjoy that. Enjoy the game. Hopefully it turns out well for my Dogs. But you can't complain about this forecast.
You're so humble always, Alex. There's a chance we might not win.
There's always a chance. That's why they play the game, right? How about in Austin? They'll be playing there in Texas, there, Kansas State going at it. And you mentioned this earlier. A lot of big games between ranked teams.
There are a lot of big games. What's going on this weekend?
Sometimes it just happens, right? Everything aligns nicely for big games, and we got it. And we get the weather cooperating, too.
Yes. I mean, really, across the board, the weather is looking really good. Sunday, too. I mean, look at this weather for the Eagles-Cowboys games. It's going to be in the 60s. Tailgaters enjoy, game time enjoy as well.
Yeah, that should be a fun one there for those two teams. And when you start comparing the quarterbacks when the conditions are like they will be, they're very similar in these types of conditions, between 55 and 65 degrees. QBR, touchdowns per game, interceptions per game, pretty much the same. The exception, maybe yards per game favors Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, but only by a little bit. Yeah. So, I'm not sure if the weather's going to be playing much of a role in this game.
It's good weather. Fans are going to like it, too. All right, let's go back to our question of the day. Traffic for work traffic. So maybe I'd take one rainy weekend day, get some inside things done.
How about rain overnight?
Oh, yeah, that would be fine. That works.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, well, we know how things are going to be shaping up there in the UP in the coming weeks and months ahead. It's going to get colder, and it's going to get exactly.
Tis the season for all of that. All right, well, you can go to X and Threads to send us your comments and also share your pics and video with us using the hashtag YesTV.
How about we